You think COVID-19 was terrifying? That is because you haven't seen true hell. In 2016, the Siberian permafrost thawed, exposing a reindeer carcass that had been buried for 75 years. Within a single month, across a 150-kilometer radius, 2,300 reindeer died suddenly en masse. 96 people were rushed to emergency care, and a 12-year-old boy tragically never opened his eyes again. The killer was anthrax. After lying dormant under the frozen earth for 75 years, it took just 30 days upon waking to prove that ice cannot trap these killers. And the most terrifying part? This is just the beginning. The zombie viruses of the Arctic. Scientists have discovered at least 28 unknown viruses inside Arctic ice cores. The oldest among them has been slumbering for 750,000 years. Their genetic sequences do not match any known biological organisms on Earth, leading some scientists to suspect they might not even be terrestrial life forms. Currently, global warming is causing permafrost to melt at an average rate of 7 centimeters per year. At this pace, these viruses could fully awaken in 50 years. It took humanity 200 years to barely bring smallpox under control. What happens if we have to face 28 unknown viruses all at once? The scientific community politely named these ancient pathogens zombie viruses, but I'm telling you, that term doesn't do them justice. In 2023, French scientists did something crazy. They extracted permafrost samples from 7 different locations in Siberia and successfully resurrected 13 ancient viruses. The oldest had slept for 48,500 years. It took only 3 hours after resurrection to frantically infect all the cells in its petri dish. While a standard COVID-19 virus is about 100 nanometers, so small you need an electron microscope to see it, these monsters crawling out of the ice are 1,000 times larger. You can actually see them squirming under a standard optical microscope. Scientists named it the Pandora virus because whoever opened this box had no idea what they were unleashing. But that isn't even the most absurd part. In 2019, scientists excavated a foal from the same permafrost, frozen for 46,000 years. As the ice slowly melted, researchers inserted a syringe into the foal's blood vessels and incredibly drew out liquid blood. The blood was red, and the cells were still active. When this horse was alive, mammoths were still roaming the earth and your ancestors were drilling wood for fire in caves. Today, its blood sits in a laboratory petri dish, carrying unimaginable potential threats. Next comes the even more horrifying data. A 2025 United Nations report indicates that the number of microorganisms released annually from the permafrost reaches a staggering 4,000 trillion. The text dramatically claims this number has 21 zeros, equating to 60 billion ancient bacteria for every person on Earth. They are flowing with the melting ice water into rivers, into the sea, and into every sip of water you drink. These bacteria share one terrifying trait. They are completely immune to modern antibiotics. Canadian scientists extracted a bacterium from 4-million-year-old permafrost and tested over 70 types of antibiotics on it. All of them failed. This resistance isn't the result of human drug abuse. It is the biological armor they evolved over millions of years to survive in extreme cold. If these superbugs encounter modern humans, our proud medical systems could collapse overnight. You might ask, will these viruses actually infect humans? The answer is, not right now. But no one can guarantee the future. In 2012, scientists discovered DNA fragments of the smallpox virus, the plague king that once killed hundreds of millions, in the lungs of a 300-year-old corpse in Siberia. Smallpox was declared entirely eradicated in 1980, but it never truly vanished. It was simply sealed beneath the permafrost, and now that seal is being broken piece by piece. Northern Russia has over 7,000 reindeer burial sites. Over 1 million reindeer that died of anthrax in the last century are buried in shallow permafrost. The 2016 outbreak was caused by just one of these. If all 7,000 burial sites thaw simultaneously, the consequences are unthinkable. Furthermore, scientists discovered an even scarier reality in Siberia, a massive sinkhole called the Batagaika crater. Because of the melting permafrost, this crater expands by 30 meters every year, acting like a giant, constantly opening maw. More and more organisms that have slept for tens of thousands of years are seeing the light of day here. In 2022, a Canadian miner hit a perfectly intact baby mammoth with a bulldozer. Curled up with its eyelashes clearly visible, it looked as though it had just fallen asleep in its mother's arms. Behind these discoveries lies a deadly crisis. These prehistoric animal corpses likely carry pathogens we know absolutely nothing about. What's worse is that viruses mutate, and they mutate at a speed you cannot imagine. Just because they don't infect humans today doesn't mean they won't tomorrow. The clock is ticking. Scientists predict that by 2030, the Arctic will see its first completely ice-free summer. That means even more life sealed away for tens of thousands of years will collectively awaken. The Arctic is warming 4 times faster than the global average. 2024 was confirmed as the hottest year in human history, 1.55 degrees above pre-industrial levels. This isn't a sci-fi movie, it's our current reality. Siberian wildfires are accelerating this process. In 2020 and 2021, massive fires burned through the permafrost, popping open these subterranean time capsules one by one. Let me ask you a question. Your immune system evolved through tens of thousands of years of battling viruses. Every flu and every cold is a biological defense code your ancestors bought with their lives. But if you encounter a 50,000-year-old virus, your body won't recognize it at all. No antibodies, no defenses, like facing a T-Rex completely barehanded. Swedish scientists put the warning more bluntly. If the permafrost hides viruses we haven't encountered for millennia, our immune mechanisms might be entirely insufficient. And the most desperate part is that in 1997, scientists in Alaska unearthed a female body whose lungs perfectly preserved the genes of the 1918 Spanish flu, a plague that killed 50 million people in a single year, more than the death toll of both world wars combined. Now, her remains lie quietly under the melting ice, waiting for a chance to resurrect. Today, scientists are scrambling to build monitoring stations, track the melting speed, and collect these ancient microbes to build databases. But honestly, in the face of climate change, these efforts feel incredibly powerless. By the summer of 2025, the methane released by Siberian permafrost accounted for 12% of global annual emissions. This forms a death loop. Melting permafrost releases methane. Methane accelerates global warming. Warming accelerates the melting of permafrost. Once this cycle starts, it cannot be stopped. Finally, I want to tell you a cruel truth. These awakened life forms from antiquity witnessed the extinction of the mammoths, the disappearance of the Neanderthals, and the rise and fall of countless species. Now, they are witnessing us. What determines our fate isn't how terrifying these ancient viruses are, but our own choices, our attitude toward climate change, our protection of the earth, and whether we are willing to take action before disaster truly strikes. Those frozen killers are just waiting quietly, waiting for us to make a mistake, waiting for the temperature to rise, and waiting for the day the seal is completely broken. When that time comes, humanity might finally understand one undeniable truth. In the face of Mother Nature, we have never been the masters. We are just lucky survivors.